4 years ago, I had no clue who Neville Goddard was, and at this stage of my life, I was bedridden from a surgery that I had where a cyst was removed in my bladder, and I had severe nerve damage after that surgery. I was barely making $1,000 a month, and nowadays I am healthy, I healed my body with Neville Goddard's teachings, and on top of that, I'm now making more than $20,000 every single month. So now you might be asking yourself, how did that happen? This transformation happened because I studied Neville Goddard's work for more than 5,000 hours, and I put the exact 12 principles that I share with you in today's video into practice, and I manifested health, wealth, and love with them. And if you watch this video till the very end, you will have the ability to draw any amount of money you want to you by understanding the interplay of the mirror principle, consciousness, and the harvest. The skill set to heal your body and to draw your dream relationship to you by imagining and assuming exactly how Neville Goddard intended us to do it. And the magical power to step into the role of a millionaire and to draw this exact reality to you. And on top of that, I share multiple of my personal manifestation success stories with you and practical tips that allow you to manifest exactly what I manifested and so much more. But keep in mind that the 12 principles from Neville Goddard that I share with you in this video build a framework, which means that if you only miss one of these principles, the whole framework collapses like a house of cards, and this could prevent you from manifesting what you truly want. And this leads me to the very first principle from Neville Goddard that allowed me to easily 20x my income from making less than $1,000 a month to making more than $20,000 a month. And if you do not do what I'm about to share with you right now, then you can affirm as much as you want and you can use all the right techniques, but nothing in your life will change. I know that from my own personal experience. And even after I had already made the decision to increase my income, to manifest more money, I still didn't fully understand this principle until one day I was looking at the door of my bedroom and I was remembering what Neville Goddard said in Your Faith is Your Fortune. Consciousness is the door through which life reveals itself. Wow. Okay, back to serious German mode. If you want to create the amount of money that I created in my life, or even more, you have to accept that consciousness is your only reality. Whatever you experience in your physical reality, even though it might be your beautiful T-Rex hands, is just an illusion. And with this level of consciousness, you either create your abundance or you repulse your abundance that you want. And once you accept this fact, you have to ask yourself, what defines an abundant state of consciousness? Well, according to Neville Goddard, consciousness is awareness, which means that if you are aware of the beliefs, of the thoughts, of the emotions of somebody who is abundant, then you are directing this awareness with your consciousness towards the desired outcome. And that puts you in the state of the wish fulfilled, which then draws this experience into your physical reality. And that's why if you want to be truly abundant, you have to be consciously aware of the consciousness that draws the abundance that you want to you. And that's why Neville Goddard says the following words in Your Faith is Your Fortune. You cannot serve two masters or opposing states of consciousness at the same time. Taking your attention from one state and placing it upon the other, you die to the one from which you have taken it, and you live and express the one with which you are united. That's why the only way for me to change my income was to enter into a deeper and freer state of consciousness, which can then draw the abundance I want to me. And by deeper, I mean the depth of wealth that I feel within myself and also the worthiness of money. And freer in the sense of me being open to all possibilities, how the universe might conspire in my favor so that the bridge of incidents can be built and I can go from the old self and leave it behind by developing my new self-concept and then walking over the bridge of incidents to then arriving at my desired destination, which is the treasure box of my manifestation. In fact, I followed exactly what Neville Goddard describes here in Your Faith is Your Fortune. To catch the large manifestations of life, you must enter into deeper and freer states of consciousness. Only in these depths do the big expressions of life live. Now, what if you then manifest your way from $3,000 a month to $7,000 a month? Then a new desire is born. And what if you then reach 7,000, then you then want to reach 10,000? Then again, a new desire is born. And this leads you to a higher level, an elevated level of consciousness. When it comes to manifesting money, a higher level of money consciousness, of abundance consciousness. And this is also something that Neville Goddard shares with us. In fact, he says these words in The Power of Awareness. Regardless of occasional experiences, to the contrary, it is your destiny to rise to higher and higher states of consciousness and to bring into manifestation more and more of creation's infinite wonders. So embrace every new desire, because a new manifestation is waiting for you, and on that journey, a new level of consciousness. Now, what if I told you that life is not like a box of chocolates, even though Forrest Gump's mom was so sure about it, but life is actually like a mirror. And I still remember when I discovered the mirror principle, and I actually went in front of an actual mirror and I looked at myself and I said this. Shit. The mirror principle says that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, and in the year 2020, when I had my admittedly rough spiritual awakening, my inner world looked like the sewage system of a really big city. I'm a mess. So how did I go from having almost nothing in my bank account to now having over $500,000 in my bank account? I did it by finally stopping all the behaviors that, well, were not that easy for me to stop. I stopped the blame game. I stopped criticizing everyone, and I stopped, or at least I tried to in the beginning, I stopped to try to change others, try to change my outer world, and I finally had to come to terms with this realization that I had to change, in the same way as you have to change if you want to change the reflection in the mirror. Because only if you change your inner state will your outer reality shift. And while I looked at myself with radical honesty and with the intention to change, I followed Neville Goddard's guidance. Because Neville said, stop trying to change the world, since it is only the mirror. Man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking a mirror in the hope of changing his face. Leave the mirror and change your face. Leave the world alone and change your conceptions of yourself. The reflection then will be satisfactory. And yes, in order to change the reflection in the mirror, I had some work to do. In order to finally be so abundant that I can fly business class whenever I want, instead of being crammed in cattle class, I had some work to do. And that's why I invite you to ask yourself, who is that person that you see in the mirror? Does that person think abundant thoughts? If not, change it. Does that person feel abundant feelings? If not, change it. Does that person walk in an abundant way, or do you walk as if you're completely defeated? Then change it. Because Neville Goddard said, the world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you're doing within yourself. If you know this, you are set free, and a series of events will unfold within you to reveal the story of salvation. Do you believe that you are worthy of money? That being wealthy is your birthright? That there are so many good people out there who are wealthy? I truly hope you do, because if you believe that others are worthy of money but you are not, then abundance can't flow to you. And if you believe that all wealthy people are evil, then you are repulsing money because you don't want to be one of them. The ones in your thoughts, the ones in your mind. Be careful and deliberate about what you believe, because Neville Goddard knew about the power of belief. That's why he said in prayer, the art of believing, beliefs invariably awaken what they affirm. The world is a mirror wherein everyone sees himself reflected. The objective world reflects the beliefs of the subjective mind. And not doing what I'm about to share with you now will not only stop you from manifesting, but it will also completely destroy your life. And now you might be saying, Sebastian, how can you make such a bold claim? Well, because I've lived it, I've done it. Prior to my spiritual awakening in the year 2020, I was destroying my body. I was hating my life. I was incredibly negative, and I was always anticipating the worst possible outcome. And guess what happened? Yep, the worst possible outcome always came true. Yep, even back then I was already good at manifesting, just not the way I wanted it to. And back then I ended up on the operating table because of a health issue. And if you want that kind of life, then of course ignore what I'm about to share with you now. But if you want a life full of health, wealth and love, then I would listen carefully. In fact, when I read the following quote for the very first time, and this quote can be found in Neville Goddard's Imagination Creates Reality, I broke down crying. The principle you have unconsciously used to bring about the undesirable conditions in your life can be consciously applied to make your every dream come true. I was unconsciously creating pain, suffering, health issues, money losses. I was creating all these things through my imagination and my feelings, and that's when I realized something. I realized that if I can create sickness, I can also create health. If I can use the combination of imagination and feeling, the way I had done it unconsciously to turn my life into one big miserable hell, then I can use the exact same principles to make the switch and to then consciously create the life I love. In fact, in one of his lectures, Let Us Go Into Silence, Neville Goddard says this: "You imagined yourself into your present state. If you don't like it, you must imagine yourself out of it and into another. It is all a matter of movement." And that was the challenge I was facing. I had severe nerve damage after a surgery where a cyst was removed from my bladder, and every doctor I had ever spoken to told me, if it's not healed by now, it will never heal, you have to live with it. So how was I able to get out of this state? In the beginning, I was begging the universe. I was begging the universe, please universe, help me. Please universe, I can't take it anymore. But eventually, I got into a state of taking responsibility for my own life. And you can believe me when I say that I had many dark nights of the soul where I was emerging from a meditation and I was in so much pain that I was breaking down crying. And I had so many moments where I wanted to give up and where I just wanted to end it all, but I didn't give up. I didn't give up, and I went into the imaginal act again and again. And I saw myself, even though this was my physical reality, I was in pain, I was not able to move properly, not able to jump. I was seeing myself over and over again playing basketball, being able to play it again, well, because I love it, and to then lift my feet up from the ground, to feel how I was jumping, to feel the basketball in my hands, and I went into the imaginal act again and again. In fact, I fully trusted the following example from Neville Goddard's Imagination Creates Reality. Now, imagination, being spiritual sensation, is the creator of the world. With her 5 senses, sight, sound, scent, taste and touch, She transformed a streetcar in San Francisco into a ship in the South Pacific, and within 1 month, she physically fulfilled her imaginal act. No matter what you want to manifest, go into the imaginal act and see it and experience it with your 5 senses until the manifestation shows up in your physical reality. Now, what's the one big difference between somebody who wants to heal their body with the law of assumption and somebody who actually accomplishes it? And what's the one big difference between somebody who wants to be rich and wealthy and have financial freedom and somebody who actually accomplishes it? I promised myself to always be honest with you, and the truth is that in the beginning of my manifestation journey, it was impossible for me to feel anything but sadness, grief, resentment, and all these wonderful negative emotions that had created my reality that I was living in back then. And this feeling of knowingness, of it is done, that Neville Goddard always talks about, seemed impossible for me to achieve. In fact, I had the feeling that whenever I took a step forward, I took 2 steps backward, and ouch, I then hit my foot. But eventually I stumbled upon this quote from Neville Goddard. When I speak of feeling, I do not mean emotion, but acceptance of the fact that the desire is fulfilled. Yes, feeling is the secret, and feeling the wish fulfilled fulfills this exact wish. But an elevated, intense emotion is not necessary. Yodel, 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 yodel. Really? No intense emotion? Oh. A relaxed feeling of knowingness is enough, and in the beginning it was so much easier for me to create this relaxed feeling of knowingness than these elevated emotions of joy and happiness. It was just so much easier to just be a little bit more chillaxed. However, I still believe that elevated emotions can serve a purpose, and that is that they make it easier for you to enter the state of the wish fulfilled, that they can make it easier for you to feel as if it is already done. That's at least my experience, and also the experience of a lot of my amazing coaching clients. That's why I love to use the elevated emotions to get into the state of the wish fulfilled. But it was such a relief, especially in the beginning, to know that it's not necessary. I personally see the elevated emotion just like the cherry on top of the cake. The cherry is not necessary, but with the cherry, the cake looks and tastes more delicious. But if you're struggling with the joy and the happiness and the fulfillment in the beginning, reach for a state of calmness, a state of relaxation, because in the power of awareness, Neville Goddard says the following words. The great secret is a controlled imagination and a well-sustained attention, firmly and repeatedly focused on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, until it fills the mind and crowds all other ideas out of consciousness. Will you feel this feeling the first time you practice it? Maybe, but maybe not. Then do it again. Arnold Schwarzenegger also had to lift a lot of weights until he became Mr. Olympia, and he had to look at posters of Reg Park a lot of times to immerse himself in the imaginal act. And he also, on this journey as a bodybuilding champion, had to say no to a lot of cookies. Put that cookie down now! And if you immerse yourself in the transformational process I share with you right now, then you have the ability to draw any amount of money you want to you. And yes, I truly and wholeheartedly believe it, because I've done it for myself. And if you go to affirmation2manifestation.com/abundance, or you click on the first link in the description, you can watch countless video testimonials of coaching clients of mine who have completed my 8-week one-on-one coaching program, the Abundance Reality Shift Coaching Program, and they made the exact same experience. And it works like this. Who am I? What do I believe about the world? What do I believe about myself? Who am I? Now it's time to step into a new self-concept, because if you change your self-concept, the world around you changes. And now you might be saying, do I really have to do this? Isn't the imaginal act and the feeling of the wish fulfilled enough? Well, you don't have to do it, but if you want to manifest 10 times faster, 20 times faster, and achieve way more abundance than you can possibly imagine, then you have to change your self-concept, because Neville Goddard said in The Power of Awareness, if creation is finished and all events are taking place now, the question that springs naturally to the mind is, what determines your time track? That is, what determines the events which you encounter? And the answer is your concept of yourself. So if you want to be a millionaire in the next 50 years, and then when you're 93 years old, you will say, oh yes, I finally made it. I am a millionaire. Then of course you can ignore it and stay in your self-concept. But if you want to be a millionaire in the next 2 years or the next 1 year, in the next time frame, and you want to fully enjoy your life with abundance, then your self-concept has to change. At least if right now you do not see the abundance and you do not see the reality in your physical reality that you want to experience. Because in The Power of Awareness, Neville Goddard also says the following words: to reach a higher level of being, you must assume a higher concept of yourself. And now I hear you asking, Sebastian, what do I have to do in order to change my self-concept? Well, your self-concept is about how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you see the world around you. Which means we have to look at your beliefs, your thoughts, your expressions, and even the way you walk and the way you stand. And if you decide to work with me in my 8-week Abundance Reality Shift coaching program, in week number 3, we're going to define and create your new abundant self-concept. So let's compare the self-concept of somebody who is trapped in lack and scarcity with the self-concept of somebody who is abundant. Let's first have a look at the internal thought level. Somebody who is in lack would say, I never have enough. Somebody who is abundant would say, I always have way more than enough. Then let's have a look at the thought level in the external realm. Somebody who's based in lack would say, in this economy it's so hard to make money. And somebody who is based in abundance would say, no matter what the economy looks like, there are so many opportunities to make money. And just like a method actor, you first have to create the qualities and the behavior of your protagonist, of the person that you portray, of that new self-concept that you then in a practical realm step into every single day. Because in The Power of Awareness, Neville Goddard says, the process of rising from your present concept to a higher concept of yourself is the means of all true progress. The higher concept is waiting for you to incarnate it in the world of experience. Neville Goddard knew that putting the wrong seeds in the ground will completely wreck your harvest. He might not have used the word wreck, but anyway. There was a time when I was completely overwhelmed by my thoughts. Because as human beings, we on average think 60,000 thoughts a day, and about 75% of them, 45,000, are repetitive, which means we think the same thoughts day in, day out. Oh my God, my thoughts are driving me insane. That's when I embarked on this life-changing journey of trying to catch these thoughts, especially my negative ones, my limiting ones, and the ones that were the complete opposite of the person I wanted to be in order to manifest my dreams. Come here, little thought, come here, I'm gonna get you, come, beep, 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 beep. Where are you? And I truly hope that the law of identical harvest motivates you in the same way as it motivated me to catch every thought, every limiting belief, because remember, whatever seed you put in the earth, whatever you sow is what you reap in life. And now I can already hear you say, okay, but what if I put my seed in the ground? How will that damn thing grow? Well, that's none of your business, because in your faith is your fortune, Neville Goddard says. When you drop your desire in consciousness as a seed, confident that it shall appear in its full-blown potential. You have done all that is expected of you. To be worried or concerned about the manner of their unfoldment is to hold these fertile seeds in a mental grasp and, therefore, to prevent them from really maturing to full harvest. So let's say you want to manifest $10,000 a month, or maybe you want to manifest $20,000 a month or $30,000. Our mind always goes to when will it happen, how will it happen, especially if you are an analytical German like me. When will it happen? How will this come to me? I don't know. I have to analyze this. I want to know right now. Now, we already learned that the when is largely influenced by your self-concept and your ability to embody it, to step into it. What about the how? Well, that's something that I will share with you at a later part in this video. For now, I want you to remember these words from Neville Goddard. You simply plant and let the harvest take care of itself. Now, what if I told you that it's completely impossible for you to manifest large sums of money or anything that you want if you don't do this? And this has to do with underlying the feeling of the wish fulfilled with a clear assumption. Because according to Oxford Languages, one definition of the verb to assume is to take or begin to have. And one definition of the noun assumption is a thing that is accepted as true or as certain to happen without proof. And I, as a professor of the University of Oxford, know that this is true. Okay, enough of my British accent, let's go back to the German accent. So, in order for you to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you have to immerse yourself into it, and you accept this reality without the actual proof in your physical reality, but therefore it can then become your physical reality. And that was for me the light bulb moment. Because Neville Goddard said, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and observe the route that your attention follows. So this means that we can completely free ourselves from our physical reality, because everything that we want can be created with an assumption by going into the feeling of the wish fulfilled and by truly assuming that this state is our reality, and therefore we change our physical reality, because the physical manifestation always follows the psychological change. And this is something that Neville Goddard describes in Resurrection. Imagine your dream as reality. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and continue feeling that it is fulfilled until that which you feel objectifies itself. If a physical fact can produce a psychological state can produce a physical fact. And making this next mistake will ruin your life. Yes, this goes far beyond manifesting. If you make this mistake, it will ruin your life, and I can speak from my own experience here. Because I almost sabotaged the manifestation of my physical healing and the manifestation of my abundance by doing this. I did not want to let go of the past. And yes, this is the wiener dog of the past. And this wiener dog is carrying your past with you. And he's following you everywhere. And if you can't let go of this cute dog, that if you take away this part and you only focus on this and this, it looks like something else, but let's not talk about this, that this dog follows you everywhere. You have to let this dog go, no matter how hard it is for you. Because at the beginning of my manifestation journey, I looked back at my life and I said to myself, why? Why did I not learn about manifesting sooner? Why did I have to destroy my body before I finally had this awakening? If I had only known this, I could have saved myself so much headache. If I had only known this, I would be rich and wealthy right now. And all these thoughts had one thing in common. They deserved the world's smallest violin. And they deserved the world's smallest violin because if you don't overcome the feeling of regret, you will not be able to manifest your dreams, no matter what your dreams are, because regret anchors you in the moment right now that you want to get out of. And with this feeling of regret, you cannot create a new future. And that's why Neville Goddard says in The Feeling is the Secret, do not waste one moment in regret, for to think feelingly of the mistakes of the past is to reinfect yourself. Turn from appearances and assume the feeling that would be yours were you already the one you wish to be. And of course, you would have had more abundant thoughts back then if you already had known what you know now. And of course, you would have reached your level of abundance that you've always wanted earlier if you had known what you know now. But life is not about should-haves and would-haves. Life is about moving forward, and you have to right now realize and make a clear decision that from now on, your past does not impact your future unless you stay trapped in the past, unless you force your future to become exactly like your past by not stepping out of this feeling of regret. So free yourself from the past by embracing the law of assumption every single day. Free yourself of the past by going into the imaginal act, by feeling the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Free yourself of the past by stepping into your new self-concept every day. And then all these negative emotions of doubt, worry, disbelief, and of course regret will no longer be a part of your life. And that's also something that Neville Goddard shares with us with the following words. Man believes the future to be the natural development of the past, but the law of assumption clearly shows that this is not the case. Your assumption places you psychologically where you are not physically. Then your senses pull you back from where you were psychologically to where you are physically. It is these psychological forward motions that produce your physical forward motions in time. Now, what if I told you that you just have to ask yourself two powerful questions that are disguised as incredibly life-changing manifestation techniques, and all the abundance that you want can and will flow to you? When I embarked on my manifestation journey, I had this picture in mind. I thought in a logical, predictable way, in a way where I wanted to control the outcome. And I thought to myself, if I have many podcast downloads in my multiple podcasts that I have, and therefore sell many products, I will have a lot of abundance. And that was my way of trying to control everything. I had this idea in mind and I was like, yep, that's exactly how the abundance will come to me. But what if the universe has other plans? What if it would come through something that is completely unknown by me? And what if in the second step, I have to let go of the obsession of how it will come to me, through which means, and then even more abundance can and will flow to me. And that's when I realized that I don't necessarily need a lot of podcast downloads to get to my abundant state. I only have to live in the end, because when I live in the end, then the universe will conspire in my favor and will bring me all the right opportunities, the right synchronicities. I can walk over this beautiful bridge of incidents directly to my manifestation. And these might be ways that I cannot possibly anticipate, ideas that are not even yet in my realm of consciousness. And that's why Neville Goddard says the following words in The Feeling is the Secret. Live in the feeling of being the one you want to be, and that you shall be. So if you want to be wealthy, you have to live your life as somebody who's already wealthy. If you want to be healthy, you have to live your life as somebody who is already healthy. If you want to be in a loving relationship, you have to live your life as somebody who already is right now in a loving relationship. And now you might be saying, yeah, great, Sebastian, but how the heck do I do this? There are two manifestation techniques from Neville Goddard that I want to share with you right now that have the power to put you in exactly this state. The first technique I want to share with you is the "Isn't it wonderful" technique, where you simply repeat in your mind a certain affirmation, a certain state of the wish fulfilled, such as, isn't it wonderful that I'm making $20,000 a month? Isn't it wonderful that I'm already a millionaire? Isn't it wonderful that my body is already healed? Isn't it wonderful that I am in this fulfilling relationship? And the more often you do that, the more your subconscious mind understands that, hey, we are already in this reality. And the second technique I want to share with you is the "how did I" technique. And this is not meant as a question that you ask yourself and you then logically think about, oh yeah, step 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what I did. But instead it's meant in a more eliciting the state of the wish fulfilled way. So it's a confirming question and not a question that is searching for logical facts. So for example, how did I become this successful? How did I achieve this level of health? How did I end up with this amazing person in this wonderful relationship? And if you put yourself in these states by asking yourself this confirming question, you can then live in the end. And here's what Neville Goddard says in Feeling is the Secret about living in the end and experiencing life from the end. As the end is accepted, you become totally indifferent as to possible failure, for acceptance of the end wills the means to that end. When you emerge from the moment of prayer, it is as though you were shown the happy and successful end of a play, although you were not shown how that end was achieved. However, having witnessed the end, regardless of any anticlimactic sequence, you remain calm and secure in the knowledge that the end has been perfectly defined. And the principle I'm about to share with you right now has the power to completely change your life, and sometimes one sentence is enough, because I still remember that day when I decided to triple my income. Back then I was barely making $1,000 a month, and I said to myself, yes, I can achieve $3,000 a month. And I then went to my mentor coach and I told him about my plan, and he just looked at me and said, double it. And that's when I reacted like this. Doubling it? Are you crazy? $6,000 a month with my business? Are you insane? That will never happen, forget about it. And guess what? It did happen. It happened because I embraced the right mental diet. And nowadays it's funny for me to look back at this time, because nowadays I'm making more than $20,000 a month, and for me back then $6,000 was completely out of my reality. And that's how fast things can change through the power of manifesting. And that's why if you want to manifest your dreams, you have to ask yourself, what is your mental diet? Because in the same way as you feel sluggish and you feel lazy when you shove cookies and french fries in your mouth all day long, you also stop your manifestation right in the track if you have the wrong mental diet. And that's why Neville Goddard said, if we could master our inner conversations to mirror our desires on a daily basis, as if they were true, as if they were happening now, then all our desires would manifest. It is law. And that's why speaking a simple affirmation every now and then is not enough, or well, it might be, but only if you use it to revise and to change and to transform every negative thought that you have. And by negative, I specifically mean any thought that limits you in your current self-concept that you want to get out of, and that limits your manifestation. But what if you don't like your current reality? What if you don't enjoy what you're experiencing right now? Then do what Neville Goddard suggests. If we do not like what is happening to us, it is a sure sign that we are in need of a change of mental diet. And to keep it simple in the beginning, you can choose one guiding affirmation that you use to replace every negative, every limiting thought. For example, the thought, I am rich and wealthy. Let's use that as an example. And whenever you have a negative thought in regards to the fulfillment of your manifestation, you simply repeat to yourself again, I am rich and wealthy. And once you get used to that, you can take the next step. And the next step is to then actively replace every negative thought that you have with positive thoughts, with abundant thoughts, with loving thoughts. And the more you do that, the more it becomes second nature for you. And in time, you will reach that state of naturalness where it just feels natural for you to think loving thoughts, to think abundant thoughts. And I can say that confidently as somebody who just about 5 years ago now, I mean, it's already 2025, who 5 years from now was the most negative, most self-destructive, most self-hating, and most lack and scarcity-based person you can possibly imagine. So if I can do it, you can do it too. And in week number 1 of the Abundance Reality Shift coaching program, I make sure that you let go of all of your limiting beliefs about money and your worthiness of money, and that you step into this new wonderful paradigm of believing, and I mean truly believing, that you are worthy of money, so that more and more abundance can flow to you. And thankfully, Neville Goddard left us clear instructions on what kind of thoughts to include in our mental diet. We cannot have a little bit of meditation in the morning, curse at noon and do something else in the evening. We have to go on a mental diet. For a week, we must completely change our mental food. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Now, what if I told you that everything you want is already yours? And when I read the following words that I'm going to share with you in just a moment, the very first time, I thought to myself, this is very confusing, I do not understand this. And the words I read were, creation is finished. And then I thought to myself, oh great, so I just have to meditate once and then my creation process is finished and I'm just going to wait in the corner for my manifestation to arrive. Okay, my work is done here, I'm out of it. But that would go completely against the principle of persistence that Neville Goddard talks about in many quotes, such as this one. Persistent imagination, centered in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is the secret of all successful operations. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks, in a good way. And that's when I realized that creation is finished means that every potential that you want is already there, it's already in the universe, it's already a part of you in a parallel reality. And by you going into the imaginal act, you then imagine yourself and feel yourself in this wish fulfilled, and therefore you can then live it in your physical reality. And of course, you want to imagine love, you want to imagine abundance, but you no longer want to imagine your T-Rex hands. So yes, you just have to imagine yourself already having it and feeling the wish fulfilled of already having it. And that's exactly what Neville Goddard says in The Power of Awareness. Because creation is finished, what you desire already exists. It is excluded from view because you can see only the contents of your own consciousness. This means that you do not have to suffer and work hard and sacrifice in order to get what you want. You simply have to imagine yourself in this reality, and then this exact reality can and will flow to you. It will appear as your physical reality. And that's why I love this metaphor of a sculpture that Neville Goddard uses in Your Faith is Your Fortune. When a sculptor looks at a formless piece of marble, he sees, buried within its formless mass, his finished piece of art. The sculptor, instead of making his masterpiece, merely reveals it by removing that part of the marble which hides his conception. The same applies to you. And just like the sculptor has to remove any part of marble that hides the beautiful sculpture, you have to remove any belief, any perception, any feeling that keeps you anchored to a reality that is currently burying your abundant self, burying yourself who's in a fulfilling relationship, burying yourself who is already healed. And you just have to strip all of that away, and then you as this beautiful sculpture can then appear as a beautiful sculpture. And that's why in The Power of Awareness, Neville Goddard says the following words about creation is finished. This is what is meant by creation, and the statement that creation is finished means that nothing is ever to be created. It is only to be manifested. What is called creativeness is only becoming aware of what already is. But for me, this principle, creation is finished, only made sense once I understood how my manifestation will actually show up in my physical reality. And that's why I now want to share 2 quick stories with you. And one will immediately inspire you, and the second one will inspire you once you have watched this video till the very end. Story number 1. When I made the jump from $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month, I was going into the imaginal act, I was feeling the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and within just a couple of days of intense meditation, I received so many downloads, so many amazing ideas directly from Source that I easily jumped from $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month. And that was exactly the incident that I needed. Story number 2. When I made the jump from $10,000 a month to $20,000 a month, this happened to me because I got sick, and I mean really, really sick. I got so sick that I could only rest in bed, and I couldn't record any episodes, I couldn't do anything. And I was then binge watching YouTube videos, and through this process of just lying there in bed and going I was then having at some point these insights guided by the universe, by watching the right video at the right time, and this then led to me to again having ideas which helped me in just 60 days to make this jump from $10,000 to $20,000 a month. And this was exactly the incident I needed. And back then I finally apologized to the universe, because when I got sick I was cursing it. But then afterwards I was saying this. Universe, thank you so much for building the bridge of incidents. Thank you. And the bridge of incidents describes the natural unfoldment of the events in our lives so that our manifestation can come true. It means that our physical world rearranges in a way so that the manifestation has to come to you. And of course, you remember this drawing, that's the bridge of incidents. And that's exactly what needs to happen so that you can then arrive safely at the other side, and you can then complete this process. And now we come full circle of you letting go of the old self-concept, and as the new self, with this new self-concept, using all the manifestation techniques I shared with you, walking over that bridge of incidents that is built while you're using these techniques, because you are entering the state of naturalness more and more, and the wish fulfilled and the imaginal act work together for you to then safely arrive. And there you can then open your treasure, which is your manifestation. And just like in the second story I shared with you, sometimes there's a little bump on the bridge. Sometimes you're walking on the bridge and you go, okay, now I'm back on track, and there's another bump. But without these bumps, you would have fallen off the bridge and you would have gone, ah. But because there are these bumps, you then arrive exactly where you need to arrive. And sometimes it works in the most mysterious, in the weirdest ways you can possibly imagine. But always remember that if you're doing the work in the spiritual realm, if you're doing the techniques I shared with you, then the bridge will build for you and you will arrive on the other side of that bridge. Because in Neville Goddard's lecture Freedom, he said the following words. One day I was fired from J.C. Penney Co., working for a year and a half, running their elevator and being their errand boy, making $22 a week and paying $5 room rent. I could not understand it when they let me go, but my dreams, my desires transcended my position there. So they had to do what they did in order for my desires to be realized. Believe me, you are the cause of the phenomena of your life, be it good, bad, or indifferent. And in a sense, Neville Goddard made the exact same experience that I made with my cold. If X hadn't happened, then I would not be able to live my dream life right now. And X can be a variable of the building process of the bridge of incidents. And this could be a synchronicity, it could be a sign, it could be you meeting somebody, it could be you receiving a direct download, as I always say, where boom, something comes directly from source right into your brain. It can be an idea, it can be an impulse, it can be so many different things that then lead you over this bridge of incidents. But remember that this variable X might not always immediately look like it, as if it is the answer for you. It might not even be positive in that moment, or at least not by our human perception, by our limited human perception, be perceived as positive, just like in the case of the cold that I had. But it can and it will, if you do the techniques consistently, lead you over the bridge of incidents. And then you can walk over that bridge and then you can say, hello, my manifestation. And in these moments, you just have to remind yourself of what Neville Goddard said in The Power of Awareness. An assumption builds a bridge of incidents that lead inevitably to the fulfillment of itself. And also keep in mind that people who do not know about the law or who do not believe in manifesting, they will tell you that it's just a coincidence and yeah, it's because of logical fact X, it has nothing to do with manifesting at all. But in this case, always remember the words from Neville Goddard, live in the end. If you tell them it came to pass because you simply imagined it, no, they will point to the series of events that led up to it, and they will give credit to the bridge of incidents across which you walked towards the fulfillment of that state, and they will point out some physical thing that was the cause. No, the cause is invisible. And if you're ready to build a beautiful bridge of incidents that lead you to your abundant dream life, I now invite you to click on the first link in the description or to go to affirmationtomanifestation.com/abundance to find out more about my one-on-one coaching program, during which we will have 8 individual one-on-one coaching sessions together, the Abundance Reality Shift Coaching Program, in which I share all the techniques that I used in order to 20x my income so that you can achieve the abundance that you truly want. And did I actually mention that I completely healed my body, even though every doctor I spoke to told me that if it's not healed by now, it won't heal anymore. And I did it with Neville Goddard's teachings. And if you click on this video right now and watch it till the very end, you'll find out exactly how I healed my body.